Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to the whole house, the whole Ba'it of Yashar'al, all 12 tribes, worldwide, wherever your feet are touching the ground on this Yom. Peace and blessings, Shalom and Barak'u to you and your entire house. Shabbat Shalom to the elder brother, Yehudah. Shabbat Shalom to the younger brother, Ephraim. Shabbat Shalom to the former stranger, the former foreigner, who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance, but having now received the Ruach of adoption, and whereby now receiving the status of sonship, whereby receiving the Ruach HaKadosh, the Ruach of Yahusha HaMashiach, whereby being engrafted into the olive tree, who is Yahusha HaMashiach, who is Yashar'al, and whereby now becoming a fellow citizen, and whereby now being a fellow partaker of the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance, which was given to Yashar'al and to Yashar'al alone. Shabbat Shalom to you, worldwide, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this Yom. Shalom and Barak'u, peace and blessings to you and your entire house. Shabbat Shalom to you on this most Kadush Yom, which is a sign and a seal and a mark of the everlasting covenant that Yahuwah has made between him and his people. It is the Yom, the day, in which identifies us, not only identifies us as his covenant people, but it identifies him as the Elohim of creation. Barak Yahuwah, and Shabbat Shalom to you on this most Kadush Yom. To those of you who are on YouTube, who will listen to this Shabbat teaching or this Shabbat lesson later on, once again, we welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. We're pleased that the Master has sent you to share in Yahuwah's remnant Shabbat gathering. As the Master has relayed through his servant last week, many ask and many wonder, what is it about the name Yahuwah's remnant? Is it some sort of organization? Is it some sort of camp? Is it some sort of 501(c) organization? It is neither of the above. Yahuwah's remnant simply is what it is. It is Yahuwah's remnant, in which his remnant people are gathered here, Barak Yahuwah, from the four corners of the earth, gathered for such a time as this, gathered for this Moadah, this appointed time, this appointed season, sitting at the Master's feet while he prepares his remnant assembly, while he prepares his remnant sheep, his remnant people for his soon return. Barak Yahuwah. So if he has sent you by, Barak Yahuwah, to share with us this day on this Shabbat Yom, whether it is now here live or whether you will hear it later on, we are grateful, we are humbled, we are pleased that the Master has sent you by to share with us in this Shabbat Yom and in this message, in this urgent message for his people in this season. For you who are on YouTube, who will hear this teaching or this message later on, once again, if you would desire to join us live, you may find our contact information. It is located within the channel description. There in the channel description, you will find an email address of which you may use to contact us if you have a desire to join us live for either on our Shabbat day gatherings or on our fourth day gatherings, otherwise in which the world calls Wednesday. You may use that email address to contact us if you desire to join us live. Nevertheless, there is a word from Yahuwah. There is a word from the Master. Barak Yahuwah. And once again, I am Dawood ben Yahuwah. And this is my Aisha Ashayah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And this is Yahuwah's Remnant Shabbat Gathering. Welcome. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Barak Yahuwah. I am so excited. I'm so excited. And I am uplifted and I am encouraged to see what the Master is doing in the earth. Although sometimes I may be a little tired of flesh, I am nevertheless encouraged to see what the Master is doing in this season amongst his people. So encouraged and so full of gladness on this day. Nevertheless, there is a word from the Master for his people. As we continue this journey of preparation, and as we remain mindful that this is a season of preparation and separation, as he prepares his sheep for his soon return, and his sheep, as he has taught us over the course of these weeks, that his sheep is no other than the house of Yahudah in this season. It's no other than the house of Yahudah, of whom he has never divorced. He never divorced the house of Yahudah. If he had divorced the house of Yahudah, the Mashiach could not have come through the house of Yahudah. And his promise that he made the sovereign Dawood, and that because of his trustworthiness to him, that he would never lack a man to sit on the throne. Indeed, Yahushua HaMashiach, being heir to the throne of Dawood, will come shortly to gather Yahudah, and afterwards he will come to claim his rightful throne, and he will sit and rule on the throne of Dawood. He will rule and govern his people for 1,000 years. He will rule the Iraqs with a rod of iron for 1,000 years. Afterwards, Barak Yahuwah, Yahushua, who came via the tribe of Yahudah, will put off flesh, because flesh has been given to the earth, and he will come in flesh and rule and govern the earth for 1,000 years, because indeed this thing is about legalities, and he must come in flesh when he comes to rule and govern for 1,000 years. Yahuwah in flesh, sitting on the throne of Dawood, sitting on the throne that was established through Dawood throughout eternity. Indeed, the Master, again, this is all about legalities. In order for him to come and sit on the throne, it must be first established, and it must be first established through flesh, and it was established through sovereign Dawood. And thus, he is going to come in flesh, Barak Yahuwah, during the millennial reign, 1,000 years, and sit on the throne that has been established throughout Dawood, throughout eternity. After 1,000 years, Yahuwah is going to put out that flesh in the person of Yahushua, and there's going to be a renewed earth, and there's going to be a renewed Shamayim. Still, however, the earth has been given to man. The earth still has been given to man. Even the renewed earth has been given to man. But Yahuwah then is going to come. The renewed Jerusalem is going to descend upon the earth, and his booth, his throne, is going to descend upon the earth. And then Yahuwah in his true form is still going to sit on the throne on the earth that has been established through Dawood, and rule the earth throughout eternity. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Nevertheless, there is a great separation going on the earth right now in this season. Indeed, this is a season of separation and preparation in which he is preparing the house of Yahudah, in which the house of Ephraim, again, is still divorced. The house of Ephraim is still divorced and will not be restored to covenant until after the great distress. But in this season, he is preparing the house of Yahudah to be gathered first. Indeed, because the elder daughter is to be given in marriage first. The elder son is to be gathered first. There must be order. Torah is order. Yahuwah is not disorderly. Everything must happen in order. And in this order, the elder son, the elder daughter, is to be gathered first. And he is preparing that elder daughter, he is preparing that elder son to be gathered first. If Ephraim, who is still divorced, and Ephraim as a whole, again, will remain divorced until after the great distress. But if an Ephraim desires to escape the hour of trial, they must engraft or attach to the elder daughter of the elder son Yahudah, of whom the scepter shall not pass, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shilu, Yahushua HaMashiach, comes. And so he has gone about the business as he has revealed this great truth to us, that indeed Yahudah goes first, and that not all who call themselves Yahudym are Yahudym, as he has revealed to us that these two sticks, Yahudah and Ephraim, are still separated. The elder daughter and the younger daughter, that they're still separated. And he has revealed to us certain characteristics that should be associated with the elder daughter, and there are certain characteristics that are associated with the younger daughter. It is imperative, it is important that we understand these characteristics, at least we get caught up with the wrong stick. If we are caught up with the stick of Ephraim, Ephraim has been reserved for the hour of trial. Ephraim is reserved for wrath. Yes, he is. Yes, she is. She and he used interchangeably. He is both the younger daughter and the younger son. And so it is important that we recognize certain traits and certain characteristics in each, to ensure that we do not get caught up in the wrong stick, but to ensure that we are indeed attached to the right house, the house of Yahudah, who is indeed to go first. Who is indeed to go first. And the master in this season is making it crystal clear. He is making it abundantly clear as to who is his and who are not. He is making it crystal clear so as to leave absolutely no guesswork. No guesswork as to who is his and who is not. The elder son, the elder daughter is the grown-up. This is the one who is no longer walking according to the flesh, but who is walking according to the Ruach. The elder daughter is indeed his covenant people. Hear him. The elder daughter, the elder son is his covenant people. Hear him, please. Ephraim is still divorced. Ephraim will not be restored to covenant as a whole until after the great distress. Yahudah was never divorced. Yahudah is his covenant people. All those who attach to Yahudah through Yahushua HaMashiach, whereby receiving the seal of the living Elohim, whereby receiving his Ruach HaKadosh, whereby having been born from above, whereby having been taken from his side, born from his side, whereby having becoming branches, whereby as Kua was taken from the side of the first Adam, we then being taken from the side of the second Adam as his bride, being an extension of him, being branches of him, so that as he is, we are. As he is, we are. We are not Sarim. We are branches. This is Yahudah. This is Yahudah. Hear him, please. This is Yahudah. This is Yahudah. His covenant people in this season is Yahudah, are not Sarim. For the nations, and Ephraim is identified with the nations, because Ephraim is now every nation, tribe, and tongue. He is a coat of many colors. He is the fulfillment of Genesis, the 48th chapter, verse 19, in which Yahuwah declares that Ephraim would indeed become the completeness of the nations. He would become every nation, tribe, and tongue. Every nation, tribe, and tongue. And so Ephraim, the nations, will not be rejoined to covenant with the master until after the great distress. Ephraim is still divorced. For the nations to escape the hour of trial, and for the nations to be brought into covenant with the master, they must come through Yahushua HaMashiach, who is a Yahudi man. And by coming through him, you become engrafted or attached to Yahudah. This is shown to us through Paul in Romans chapter 11, when he talks about the olive tree, and he talks about the natural branches, and he talks about the wild branches, and he talks and he gives the message to the wild branches to not boast above the natural branches. The natural branches are Yahudym, because Yahudah was never divorced. The wild branches are those who are re-engrafted back into the olive tree. This is Ephraim. This is the nations. Hear him, nations. If you declare to escape the hour of trial, you must attach to true Yahudah. You must attach yourselves to true Yahudah. And he has given us, and I'm not going to, there's not going to be a replay. You're going to have to go through some previous videos to understand those characteristics that he has given us to identify who are true Yahudym and who are imposters. You either are or you aren't. You either are Yahudah or you aren't. There is no in between. And he has given us some key traits, some key characteristics to determine if whether or not you are a true Yahudym or you're an imposter. There are many imposters going around. There are many imposters who are saying that they are Yahudym, but their fruit tells a different story. The Master Yahuwah, when speaking to Yahudah, he says this: a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a rotten tree, a bad tree bear good fruit. He has made it clear. He has made it plain. He has laid several foundations for us to aid us in determining who is true Yahudah and who are imposters. Again, this is very important, because as Sanballat tried to deceive Nehemiah and Nehemiah into coming out to the valley of Ono in order to deceive him, in order to destroy him, there are Sanballats in this season who are trying to deceive you, who are trying to draw you out to the valley of Ono, where you will be declaring, oh no, how did I end up here, when the fires of the great distress comes upon your head. And so it is very important, it is imperative now that you understand who is true Yahudah and who are the imposters. Because soon, very soon, the Master is coming to gather Yahudah, in which he has given us a number of 144,000, not including those who are attached to us. The 144,000 are all men, because in census taking, only men are counted. The women, the little ones, and the strangers are never counted in the taking of census. There's precedence to this in the Torah. The strangers and the little ones and the women are never counted in the census. And so this 144,000 are 144,000 Yahudym. Yahudym. All those who are attached to Yahudah are Yahudym. No different than the time of the Messiah, when everyone who lived in the land of Yahudah and who kept the righteous Torah were considered to be Yahudym. No different now. All who are attached to Yahudah, true Yahudah, are considered to be Yahudym. And it is those who are sealed with the seal of the living Elohim, who have been born from above, who have received his life-giving Ruach, who have received his life-giving spirit, who have been taken from his side, born from his side, and become branches, become Nazarene, become extensions of him, who have become his counterpart, his Azar Nagah, his suitable helpmeet here on earth, doing the righteous true works of the Torah. It is these of whom soon he is coming to gather and to deliver and to save and to keep from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon this earth. And so the Master, he has been laying a foundation over the past of the course of 3 or 4 weeks now, showing us what it looks like to be a Yahudym, showing us what it looks like to walk as Yahudym, showing us what it looks like to walk as Nazarene. This is important. This is very important, because if we're not walking as Yahudym, then we're not Yahudym. And if we're not Yahudym, then we're going to be left for the hour of trial, because he's only coming for Yahudah. He's only coming for Yahudah first. Yahudah does go first. And so we must be found walking as Yahudym, doing the works while it is still day, because night indeed is coming soon when no man can work. We must be found well doing, because it is written, behold, he is coming quickly, and his reward is with him, to reward each according to his works. We must be found working. We must be found doing the work of Yahudym. We must be found working as our master worked when he was here. We must be found well doing. If we desire to escape the hour of trial, we must be found working until the very end, doing the true works of Torah, having the manifestation of the Torah made flesh in us. We must be found doing the true works of Torah if we aspire to escape the hour of trial, and if we aspire to wear the title of Yahudym, And so line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, the master wants to continue this preparation. Indeed, again, this is a season of separation and preparation. This indeed is a muadah. This is indeed the consummation of the times. This is the consummation of the times for all who have ears to hear and a heart to understand and eyes to see. This is the consummation of the times in which the master is coming soon to gather his elder daughter, the elder son, Yahudah. This is the consummation of the times. And so we must be found walking worthily. We must be found walking worthily. And so line by line, again, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, the master wants to continue that preparation work. He wants to continue that separation, that great separation that is going on in the midst of the earth, to show his people who are lovingly committed to him, because he is lovingly committed to the lovingly committed ones, to show his lovingly committed ones what it looks like to walk as Yahudym, what it looks like, what it physically looks like to walk as Yahudym, so that we have a playbook, so that we have a blueprint of how we should be walking, of what we should look like, or more accurately, who we should look like, so that when he comes, there's no fear. There's no fear, because perfect love casts out fear. And if we're loving him truly, if we're loving him the right way, if we're loving him truly, then we are walking as Yahudym. If we love him truly, we're walking as Yahudym already. And that means that what? That perfect love will cast out fear. We will have no fear. We will have no fear. We will have an assurance. We'll have an expectation. We will have an expectation, and we will long. We will long, as some of us do, we will long for his return without fear. Without fear, we will long, we will lovingly long for his return to come and gather his elder daughter, his elder son, Yahudah, because indeed Yahudah goes first. And so line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. If you're taking notes, the title of this teaching is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 66. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 66. Walk as Yahudym. Walk as Yahudym. Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 66. Walk as Yahudym. Again, as the master has previously spoken, he's laid a series of foundations here for us. He's laid a series of foundations through previous teachings or through previous messages, a series of foundations of what it looks like to be a Yahudym. Today, he wants to lay another foundation, or to reestablish another foundation of what it looks like to be Yahudym, what it looks like to walk as Yahudym. Barak Yahuwah. I think I have a statement here, little one.
Yes, you do.
Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. What is that statement?
To walk as Yahudym.
To walk as Yahudym
means to walk as Yahuwah's covenant people.
Means to walk as Yahuwah's covenant people, because indeed Ephraim is still divorced. The younger daughter, the younger child who is still walking according to the flesh is still divorced. To walk as Yahudym means to walk as Yahuwah's covenant people. Read.
Ephraim is still divorced. Meek and lowly is the way.
Meek, hear him. This is the foundation of the reestablishment of a foundation. Meek and lowly is the way, but meekness is not weakness. but meekness is not weakness. Hear him. Meek and lowly is the way. Get this. Get this down deep into your kilya, your kidneys. Meek and lowly is the way. There are many who are imposters, who are counterfeits, who are calling themselves Yahudym, but do not understand that an identifying characteristic of a true Yahudi is meekness and humility. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We've been talking about the example of another Yahudi man, Yahushua HaMashiach, who showed us that meekness and lowliness is the way. Yes, it is. It is the foundation. It is the foundation. Meek and lowly is the way. You call yourself a Yahudi. You call yourself a Yahudi man or a Yahudi woman. Meek and lowly is the way. But meekness is not, but meekness is not weakness. Meekness is not weakness. We're not Christians. And we don't have a Christian understanding and a Christian perspective of what meekness is. No, we don't. There were meek men that followed the Mashiach, and there were meek men that went into all the earth that he sent into all the earth. They were meek men, but their loins were girded. They were girded with weapons. They were girded with swords. But they sought shalom first from all men, and separateness, for without which no man shall see the master. Get the correct understanding. We seek shalom and separateness. We walk in meekness, lowliness, and humbleness. But we are called to be stand-up men. We're called to protect our families, to protect our Aishas. Yes, we are. But we're first called to seek shalom with all men and separateness, for without which no man shall see the master. Yahudah, in accordance with the text, will be found in the land fighting. Will be found in the land fighting. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So understand that meekness is not weakness. Nevertheless, meek and lowly, it is still the way. Meek and lowly, it is still the way. Without walking in meekness and lowliness, hear him, we will not get to Mount Zion. We will not get to Mount Zion. Those who get to Mount Zion are those who follow the Lamb's voice wherever he leads them. To follow, you must submit. To follow, you must be meek and lowly. One cannot follow anyone without being meek and lowly. And you see, that's the problem, beloved ones. With most who call themselves Yahudi, they're not willing to follow. They're not willing to follow anyone. And if you cannot follow here on earth, how can you follow him of whom you cannot see? When you cannot follow the ones that he sent, you're lying, the truth is not in you. There are many who claim to be Yahudi, but they cannot submit, and they will not follow. And the true trait and character of a Yahudi man or a Yahudi woman is their submission. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's their submission. Meek and lowly, indeed, is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. You say you're Yahudi and you can't submit, you're a liar. And the truth is not in you. And the truth is not in you. Yahudym are his covenant people. Hear him. Yahudym are his covenant people. His covenant people lovingly submit to him. Lovingly obey him. To obey means to submit. To submit means to follow. His covenant people are his true covenant people are Yahudym, and his true covenant people are meek and lowly. We submit. We submit. We humbly submit we humbly submit. If you claim to be a Yahudi, hear him, because time is at stake. Time is at stake. If you claim to be a Yahudi and you're stiff-necked and you can't submit, you're a liar and the truth is not in you. But guess what? He's a loving Elohim. He's a loving Elohim. Yes, he is, because he chastises those whom he loves. You see, the great distress is an act of love. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. He is sending a great rod, a great chastening rod, to correct his younger son, his younger daughter, to correct them to obedience, to drive the folly out of them so that they will be saved. This is love. This is love. To cause them to submit, to cause them to humble themselves. Indeed, you can humble yourself now, or you can humble yourself later, but you're going to humble yourself. Isn't it written, little one, that every knee going to bow, every tongue going to confess. Yes. Barak Yahuwah, that Yahushua HaMashiach is master, is Yahuwah, to the esteem of the Father. Yes, they are. Every knee going to bow. Humble yourself now, you humble yourself later, but you're going to humble yourself. But see, the distinction here, that great separation, is that his covenant people are humbling themselves now. That's our characteristic. That's a trait. Indeed, meek and lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. It always has been. It always has been the way, and it continues to be the way. This is the example of our righteous fathers. This is the example of Yahushua HaMashiach. Meek and lowly, indeed, is the way. Barak Yahuwah, line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. Meek and lowly is the way. Give us a precept, little one.
Numbers 12:3.
Numbers, Bamatba. Numbers 12. Numbers, Bamatba, chapter 12. Numbers, Bamatba, chapter 12. Numbers, Bamatba, chapter 12. Numbers, Bamatba, chapter 12. We're only going to read only one verse. That is verse 3. Verse 3. Numbers, Bamatba, chapter 12, verse 3. Reading verse 3, little one, read, please.
And the man Masha
was very humble. Read.
More than all men who were on the face of the earth.
More than all men who were on the face of the earth. Understand the context here, please. Masha was given as an example to the people. He was given as an example, no different than the rest of our righteous fathers. He was given as an example to the people. Masha was Mashiach. Let's learn a little bit about the Hebrew tongue. Just a little bit. Masha was Mashiach. Mashiach. Mashiach means anointed one. It means anointed one or anointed. Yahusha is Ha-Mashiach, as Yahuwah is Ha-Mashiach. He is the anointed one. The anointed one. But Masha was Mashiach, no different than Abraham, who was also Mashiach, an anointed one. No different than Noach, no different than Methuselah, no different than Canuk. They were Mashiach. They were anointed ones. They were giving as an example to the people. And all of them were meek, lowly, and humble men. And so as we go down through the lines, through the annals of time, throughout the generations, and we arrive at Ha-Mashiach, the anointed one, who sent out other Mashiachs, because Paul was Mashiach, Kapha was Mashiach, his taught ones were Mashiach. They were anointed ones. He was Ha-Mashiach, and they were Mashiach, anointed ones. Or you can say Mashiachim. Mashiachim. They were anointed ones. But they had key characteristic traits. They were all meek and lowly men. No different than Ha-Mashiach. No different than Ha-Mashiach. And so Masha here, being Mashiach, being an anointed one, a chosen one, was given as an example to the people how to walk in covenant with the master. Meek and lowly is the way. It reads here that he was the most humble man in all the earth. The same distinction could be made of Abraham. Yes, it could. Yes, it could. And of Ishak, and of Yahudim, and of Yahudym. The most humble men of their times. The most humble men of their times. No different than Hamashiach, Yahushua Hamashiach. When he walked the earth, he was the most humble man on earth. Given as an example to the rest of the people, indeed, of what it looks like to be called the Yahudym. Of what it looks like to be called his covenant people. His covenant people, write that down. Because we're going to get to this momentarily. To be identified as his covenant people. It means to be meek and lowly. It means to be meek and lowly. And he set forth examples throughout the annals of time, Mashiachs, and ultimately Hamashiach. Hamashiach, to show us that indeed meek and lowly is the way. It is the way. Hear him. Hear him. If we desire to get to Mount Zion, meek and lowly, hear him, is the way. Meek and lowly, the way is the operative word. Meek and lowly is the way to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. Give us another precept, little one.
Genesis 6, 7 through 9.
Barashif, let's go back to the very beginning. Barashif chapter 6, Genesis chapter 6.
7 through 9.
Verses 7 through 9. Genesis, Barashif, chapter 6. Verses 7 through 9. Genesis, Barashif, chapter 6, verses 7 through 9. Genesis, Barashif, chapter 6, verses 7 through 9. Beginning at verse 7. Come on, read, little one.
And Yahuwah said, I am going to wipe off man whom I have created from the face of the ground.
I'm going to wipe off man from whom I created from off the face of the ground. Come on.
Both man and beast.
Both of man and beast.
Creeping creature.
Creeping creature.
And birds of the heavens.
And birds of the Shamayim. Read.
For I am sorry that I have made them.
For I am sorry that I made them.
But Nuach found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah.
Listen. But Nuach found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Why? Read.
This is the genealogy of Nuach.
Nuach
was a righteous man.
Nuach was Zadak. Nuach was righteous. A righteous man. Read.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Tamim.
That this word for perfect is tamim. Tamim. You've heard this before, but we're going to, this is that reestablishment of a foundation that the master was talking about. He was tamim. Tamim. He was perfect. Read.
In his generation.
In his generation.
Nuach walked with Elohim.
Nuach walked with Elohim. You don't have to be reminded that Nuach was saved. He was saved from what? He was delivered from the hour of trial. He was saved from the time of distress when the flood waters came to what? To distress the earth. He was delivered from this. Why? Because he was tamim. He was perfect. Because he was tamim. Tamim. We're going to get to the definition of tamim, but then we're going to get to the root, the base of tamim. Tamim is actually the plural of another word. It is actually the plural of another word, and we're going to get to the base of that word because they essentially mean the same thing. But Nuach was a meek and lowly man. Yes, he was. This is what tamim indicates. This is what it indicates. And because he was meek and lowly, he was delivered from the hour of trial, from the distress, from the flood waters that came to distress the entire earth. If you desire to be delivered from the proverbial flood waters that is soon to come upon the earth, you must be in covenant with him. You must walk in a similar manner, in a like manner of Nuach, being tamim. Being tamim, being perfect, walking meekly, lowly, and humbly. Indeed, meek and lowly is the way. All Hear him. All, not some, all of, listen, please, hear. All, not some, all of Yahuwah's covenant people, all of his covenant people are meek and lowly. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. If you're not meek and lowly, you're not in covenant with him. You're not. And you are destined to be corrected with his chastening rod during the hour of trial. You see, Ephraim is still stiff-necked. He's still stiff-necked. He's still full of pride, still full of himself. He's still walking in his flesh. There is no meekness and humility in him. Although there is a false meekness, there is a false humility in him. And this is where the discernment comes in, Yahudah, that you must recognize that false humility, that you must recognize that false meekness, so that you are not caught up and led to the valley of oh no, where you may be saying, oh no, how did I let him lead me out here to be caught wearing flip-flops during the wintertime, shorts and flip-flops during the wintertime, being caught in the fires of the great distress? Because you lack discernment, and you could not discern what true humility looks like versus false humility. Because those who walk in false humility, hear him, are in covenant with the adversary. They're in covenant with him. Those who operate in false humility are in covenant with the adversary. They're in covenant with the devil, because indeed there is only two types of men. There are only two seed. Either you are the good seed that is born from above, or you are the seed of the wicked one. There is no in between. Those who are of the seed of the wicked one, they operate in a false humility. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But those who are truly in covenant with the master, who are true Yahudym, walk in humility. Meek and lowly is the way. We are his covenant people. And as his covenant people here were saved from the distress of the floodwaters, his covenant people in this season, in this Muadah, are going to be saved from the proverbial floodwaters in this season, otherwise called Yahuwah's distress, or the great distress, which is coming soon to try the entire earth. Meek and lowly is the way. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Meek and lowly is the way. As Nuach and all of our righteous fathers, Mashiach King, and Hamashiach have demonstrated. Meek and lowly is the way. What does Tamim mean, little one?
Integrity.
Integrity.
Truth.
Truth.
Without blemish.
Without blemish. Perfect. Read.
Complete.
Complete.
Full.
Full.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Sincerely.
Sincerely.
Sound.
Sound.
Without spot.
Without spot.
Undefiled.
Undefiled.
Upright.
Upright. Upright. Again, the master has revealed to us that Tamim is actually the plural of another word. Of another word. It is the plural of another word, but he mentions perfect here. He mentions perfect as a definition of Tamim. But again, it is the plural of a base word, and we're getting ready to now look at that base word. Let's look at another precept, little one.
Genesis 17:1.
Barashith, chapter 17. Barashith, chapter 17. Actually, we're not going to get to that base yet. We're not going to get to that base yet, but we're getting to that base word.
Thank you, man.
Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Master. Barashith, Genesis chapter 17. Barashith, Genesis chapter 17. Verse 1. Verse 1. Genesis Barashith, chapter 17, verse 1. Genesis Barashith, chapter 17, verse 1. Beginning at verse 1, read verse 1, little one.
And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old.
And it came to be when Abram was 99 years old. Read.
That Yahuwah appeared to Abram.
That Yahuwah appeared to Abram.
And said to him, I am Al Shaddai.
I am Al Shaddai. Read.
Walk before me.
Walk before me.
And be perfect.
And be perfect. Tamim. Tamim. Abraham was also Tamim, meek and lowly. He was the most meek and lowly man of his generation. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And he was in covenant with the master. Hear him, please. It is impossible to be in covenant with Yahuwah without being meek and lowly. Why is that, teacher? Because if you are in covenant with Yahuwah, then as a man enters a woman and enters into covenant with her, Yahuwah has entered us with his spirit, with his ruach. He has entered us, whereby making a circumcision of the heart, whereby bringing us into the bond of covenant with him. This is the ruach of Yahushua HaMashiach. This is his ruach. This is the ruach of Mashiach, used interchangeably with the ruach HaKadosh because they are the same. And if his ruach enters us, in which he himself is meek and lowly, and whereby having his ruach, we have entered into covenant with him, it becomes impossible for his covenant people, for those who are truly his covenant people, truly, hear him please, because he's making a distinction here. Whether you understand or not, he's making a distinction. He's making it crystal clear, and he's simplifying it for you to understand who are his and who are not. His covenant people, his true covenant people, whom his ruach has come and made his abode within them. It is impossible for them not to walk meekly and lowly. It is impossible. Indeed, in the words of Yahudim and the John, it is impossible for one who has been born of Elohim to commit sin, to commit crime. Do you not know that pride is sin? Pride is crime. Yes, it is. Pride is what caused the adversary to fall. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Pride is sin. This is why he resists the proud. Does he not resist those who commit sin, little one? Yes, he does. Is there not a separation between those who operate in uncleanness? Yes, it is. He will not dwell where there is uncleanness. He cannot dwell where there is uncleanness. Pride is uncleanness. Pride is putrid in his nostrils. And so he resists the proud. He resists the proud. No one who is truly born of Elohim can walk outside of the boundaries of meekness and lowliness. You can't. It is impossible for you to do so. Yes, it is. Oh, he's made this thing crystal clear, little one. He's made it plain. You can't walk outside of meekness and lowliness. Hear him now. Hear him. I want some of you to understand. Both those of you who are on YouTube will hear this later on, and those of you who are on Zoom. Here's another characteristic trait of those who are in covenant with him. He's given us discernment. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. He has given us discernment, and we can discern false humility. We discern it. We discern false humility, but he allows the wheat to grow up with the tares. Yes, he does. Yes, he does, because he wants you too to repent. He wants you too to repent, but right now, you still content with walking in your false humility, thinking that you're fooling somebody. You ain't fooling anybody. You're not fooling those who have discernment, and you're not fooling him. We see your false humility. We see that you're counterfeit. We see that you're fake. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And all the master wants you to do is humble yourself at his feet. Stop trying to fake until you make it, because you ain't making it anywhere. The only place you're going to make it to is the valley of Ono. That's the only place you're going to make it to is the valley of Ono. Because you choose to operate in your false humility, thinking that you're fooling somebody, but you're not fooling anybody, let alone Yahuwah, because everything is naked before him. Everything is naked before him. Nevertheless, it is impossible for one who is truly in covenant with the master to walk contrarily to meekness and lowliness. It's impossible. It's impossible. Come on, little one, give us another precept.
Genesis 25, 27.
Genesis, Barashif, chapter 27 now.
25, 27.
I'm sorry, Genesis, Barashif, chapter 25. Chapter 25, verse 27?
Yes.
Verse 27. Barashif, Genesis, chapter 25, verse 27. Barashif, Genesis, chapter 25, verse 27. Meek and lowly is the way. It's the way to Mount Zion. It's the way to Mount Zion. And if we're truly in Hamashiach, and he and us being branches, we can't help but walk meek and lowly as he walked. To walk as he walked means to walk meekly and lowly. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Barshif, chapter 25, verse 27. Verse 27. Reading verse 27. Come on, read for us, little one.
And the boys grew up.
And the boys grew up. These boys are Esau, Ashu, and Yahudim. Read.
And Ashu became a man knowing how to hunt.
And Ashu became a man knowing how to hunt. He wasn't meek at all. Come on, read.
A man of the field.
A man of the field.
While Yahudym was a complete, perfect man.
While Yahudym was a complete and perfect man. Now we find this word complete in the Hebrew or Abarit word tamim. Tamim, as Noach was perfect and as Abraham were perfect. They were tamim. They were tamim. But the Hebrew or Abarit word here, what we find for complete is the word tam. Tam. It is the word tam. And the word tam is comprised of two Hebrew or Abarit letters. It is comprised of the Hebrew letter or Abarit letter tar and mom. Tar and mom. Wherever we find the Hebrew or Abarit letter tar, this is indicative of covenant. Yes, it is. It is indicative of covenant. As Yahuwah is what? Is the Aleph and the Tar. He is the beginning and the everlasting covenant. So wherever we find the letter Tar, this is indicative of covenant. It is also comprised of the letter Mom, which is represented by water. Wherever there is water, this is a representation of Ruach, of spirit, of Ruach, of spirit. And so here we find that whatever this characteristic is, Tom, whatever this characteristic is, that this is the characteristic of those who are in covenant with the master. One, we find Ruach. We find Ruach here because one cannot be, which is indicative of Mom. One cannot be in covenant with the master without having his Ruach. And we find Tar, which is always a representation of covenant, And so whatever Tom means, whatever it means, it points towards those who are in covenant with him. Hear him. It points towards his covenant people. As Yahudim was in covenant with the master, as the everlasting covenant was renewed with Yahudim and not Esau or Ashu. And so whatever Tom means, which is used to describe Yahudim, this is what it looks like to be in covenant with Yahuwah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. What does Tom mean, little one?
Complete.
Complete.
Usually morally pious.
Morally pious.
Gentle.
Gentle.
Dear.
Dear.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Plain.
Plain.
Undefiled.
Undefiled.
Upright.
Upright. So this is someone who is perfect, who is upright, who is undefiled, who is plain, who is complete. Who is complete, as Tamim indicates. Complete. Perfect. Those who are in covenant with the master are perfect. Are perfect. But let's take this a step further. Let's take this a step further because indeed, meek and lowly is the way. Let's look at gentle because Tom also means to be gentle. It also means to be gentle. Tom means to be gentle. Let's look now at some synonyms for what it looks like to be gentle. Let's look at some synonyms for what it looks like or what it means to be gentle. Give us some synonyms, little one.
Kind.
Kind.
Kindly.
Kindly.
Tender.
Tender.
Benign.
Benign.
Humane.
Humane.
Lenient.
Lenient.
Sympathetic.
Sympathetic.
Considerate.
Considerate.
Compassionate.
Compassionate.
Good-natured.
Good-natured.
Sweet-tempered.
Sweet-tempered.
Mild.
Mild.
Quiet.
Quiet. Oh, some of you run your mouth too much. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. To be calm means to be gentle. To be gentle also means to be quiet. It also means to be quiet. Yeah. Those who are in covenant with the master, we don't talk a whole lot. We don't talk too much. Why? And we're going to get to this because we have that fruit. The fruit of the Ruach. And in the fruit of the Ruach is something called self-control. It's a little thing called self-control. If you have his Ruach, you can't help but have self-control. And you can't help but govern. Govern the mouth. Govern the lips. You can't help but govern it because his Ruach remains in you. His Ruach remains in you. So no one who is in covenant with the master talks too much. No one who is in covenant with the master talks too much. You're lying. The truth is not in you. And no one has to tell you that you talk too much if you truly have his Ruach, because his Ruach is going to check you. He will check you and moderate you and govern you and tell you when you're talking too much, when you've talked too much. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. This is the benefit of being in covenant with him, because he will convict you. He would convict you of all crime, as it is written in the book of John. The helper is coming, and he would convict men. He would convict the earth of crime. He's going to convict the earth of their crimes. He will convict you of your crimes if you are in covenant with him. If you are in covenant with him, and there will be a governor on your mouth. You won't talk too much. No, you won't. You won't talk too much. So Tom, it means to be gentle. It means to be gentle. And it also means to be quiet. It also means to be quiet. What else we have here, little one?
Humble.
And it also means what?
Humble.
It also means to be humble. To be gentle means to be humble. So those who are in covenant with the master are what? Are calm, are gentle, and are humble, and are quiet. Because quiet also means to be gentle. And to be gentle also means to be humble. These are all traits of being gentle. Being humble and being quiet. Being quiet. Being quiet. I'm sorry. These are all traits of being gentle. That's right. Being humble and being quiet. Being quiet. And so one who is in covenant with the master, meek and lowly is the way, is humble, gentle, and quiet. You can't get around it. You can't get around it. You cannot know. No, you got to face this, Yahudym. You got to face this. You want to get to Zion? You got to face this truth. And if this isn't you, you need to spend some time at the master's feet. You need to spend some time at the master's feet. You can't get around this. To be in covenant with him, to be calm, means to be gentle, means to be humble and quiet. And that translates into perfection. That translates into perfection. Barak Yahuwah. What does it mean to be humble, little one?
Not having or showing any feelings of superiority.
This is what it means to be humble. Not what?
Not having or showing any feelings of superiority.
Being lowly, not having any thoughts of superiority over nobody. Read.
Self-assertiveness.
Self-assertiveness.
Or showingness.
Or showingness.
That's it.
Okay, come on. We got some synonyms?
Yes.
Barak Yahuwah.
Demure.
Demure.
Down to earth.
Down to earth.
Lowly.
Lowly. Oh, meek and lowly is the way.
Meek.
Meek and lowly is the way. As humble again is a trait of being gentle. Meek and lowly is the way, and a trait of being calm. Meek and lowly, read.
Modest.
Modest.
Unassuming.
Unassuming.
Base-born.
Base-born.
Common.
Common.
Inferior.
Inferior.
Low.
Low.
Low life.
Low life.
Low-born.
Low-born. Low-born. Low-born. This is what it looks like, Yahudym, to be in covenant with the master. Meek and lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way to Mount Zion. Lowborn. Lowborn. What does Paul say about lowborn, little one?
1 Corinthians 1:28.
1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28. Meek and lowly. This is the way. This is the way to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28. 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 28. Reading verse 28. Read for us, little one.
And Elohim has chosen the lowborn of the world.
And Elohim has chosen. Hear him. The operative word is chosen. He has chosen the lowborn to be in covenant with him. The meek, the lowly, the humble, the mild, the gentle. He has chosen the lowborn of this earth to be in covenant with him. Come on, read.
And the despised.
And the despised.
And the ones that are not.
And the ones that are not.
That he might bring to naught.
That he might bring to naught.
The ones that are.
The ones that are. Indeed, many are called, but few are chosen. He chooses the lowborn. His eyes go to and fro across the whole earth looking for a heart that's perfect towards him. And when he finds that heart, he comes to make his home, his abode in it. Meek and lowly is the way. He looks for the lowborn. He looks for the meek and lowly. If you ain't meek and lowly, you're not in covenant with the master. You ain't going to Mount Zion. Only his covenant people, Yahudah, hear him. Only his covenant people, true Yahudym, are going to Mount Zion, who are following the Lamb, who are following the Lamb, meek and lowly, following the Lamb wherever he leads them. Only these are going to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
Definition of meek.
Come on, give us a definition of meek.
Quiet, gentle.
Quiet and gentle. Here we go with quiet and gentle again. Quiet and gentle. What it means to be meek means to be quiet and gentle. Read.
And easily imposed on.
And easily imposed on.
Submissive.
Submissive. Submissive. Submissive. Hear him. You can't. One can't claim to be in covenant with the master if you're not submissive. If you can't submit to him. And if you can't submit to those of whom he's called on earth, how can you submit to him whom you cannot see in Shamayim? Torah, the foundation of Torah is submission. It is submission. Because to obey is to submit. And it is not the hearers of the Torah who are declared righteous, but the doers of the Torah who are declared righteous. Torah, the foundation of Torah, is submission. It is submission. You can't either do the latter or the true works, the true manifestation of the Torah if you can't submit. If you can't submit. If you ain't meek and lowly, you cannot, the true works of Torah cannot be manifested in you. It cannot be manifested if you're not meek and lowly. So to be meek means to submit. It means to submit. He's looking for a submissive people. To a people who will submit to him. Who will obey him. Who will obey his every word. Who will neither turn to the right or to the left. And who will follow his voice wherever he leads them. And if we do so, meek and lowliness will lead us to Mount Zion. A meek and lowly man, Yahushua HaMashiach, will lead us to Mount Zion and then to the land where those who say that they are Yahudym and who are not and who are puffed up, but who are of the synagogue of Hashatan, whom he will cause to come and worship before us, to see what a true Yahudym looks like. Come on, give us some more, little one.
Synonyms.
Give us some synonyms,
Patient.
Patient, and this is for meek. Come on, read.
Long-suffering.
Long-suffering.
Gentle.
Gentle.
Shalomful.
Shalomful.
Docile.
Docile. Boy, this sounds a whole lot like Galatians chapter 5, doesn't it?
Yes, bro.
Oh, a whole lot like Galatians chapter 5 and the fruit of the Ruach. This is what it looks like to be called a Yahudym. Come on, read.
Lamb-like.
Lamb-like. Oh, here's where the rubber hits the road, little one. Because either you are a sheep or you're a goat. Either you are a lamb like a docile, meek, and humble and lowly sheep, or you're a stiff-necked goat. And the goats are going to be left for the great distress, but the sheep are going to Mount Zion. The sheep are going to Mount Zion. To be meek means to be lamb-like. Oh, his sheep hear his voice, and another voice they will not follow. His sheep will follow his voice wherever he leads them, and his sheep will be led to Mount Zion. Meekly and lowly as sheep, lamb-like, will be led to Mount Zion. Lamb-like, come on, read.
Mild.
Mild.
Modest.
Modest.
Humble.
Humble.
Lowly.
Lowly. Lowly. Meek and lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way to Mount Zion. This is what a true Yahudi looks like. This is what his true covenant people, his true covenant people look like. Hear him. He's erased all doubt. He's erased all suspicion. He's erased all confusion. This is what his true covenant people look like. I'm not talking about the Christian humble. I'm talking true humility. True humility. We can only walk in true humility if his ruach, if a ruach of humility is in us, who is called the Ruach HaKadosh, who is called the Ruach of the Mashiach. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
Galatians 5:22-23.
Galatians 5. Galatians 5. Verses 22 through 23. This sums it all up. This sums it all up of what it looks like to be called a Yahudym, a Nazarene. Meek and lowly is the way. Bearing that fruit, bearing the fruit of a Nazarene, bearing the fruit of branches, being branches from the branch and bearing that fruit, bearing that fruit. This is the culmination of it, of what it looks like to be Nazarene, of what it looks like to be true Yahudym. That fruit of righteousness, which is based in humility. Indeed, meek and lowliness is the way. One can't do righteousness. One cannot operate in righteousness without first being meek, lowly, and humble. Without being calm, gentle, quiet, lowborn. One cannot do righteousness without being meek and lowly. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 23. This is that fruit. The true fruit of a Yahudi. The true fruit of a Yahudi. And if we're operating in this fruit, meek and lowly indeed is the way. He will lead us. It will lead us to Mount Zion. This fruit will lead us to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. Beginning at verse 22. Read for us, little one.
But the fruit of the Ruach is love.
But the fruit of the Ruach is love. Hear him. Hear him. You can't love. You can't love without submitting. No, you can't. You can't love without submitting, because to love means to serve. We love Yahuwah by serving him. We love Yahuwah when we obey his righteous Torah. To obey means to submit. To submit means to serve. You can't love without serving. You can't love without serving. You cannot serve without being meek, lowly, humble, and mild. So the way we love one another is to serve one another, to submit to one another. To serve one another is how we love one another. To serve Yahuwah, to love Yahuwah means to serve him. Means to serve him. And one cannot serve again without being meek, lowly, humble, gentle, mild, upright, and perfect. Complete. Complete. This here is the recipe for completeness. This here is the recipe. It's the recipe for perfection. What we're reading here. Love, read.
Joy.
Gladness.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Patience.
Patience.
Kindness.
Kindness. A lot of these we read in those synonyms up there, little one. We read these in these synonyms. for gentleness and meekness and humbleness. We read these in the synonyms above. For Tom, for being gentle, for being perfect and complete. Come on, read.
Goodness.
Goodness.
Trustworthiness.
Trustworthiness.
Gentleness.
Gentleness.
Self-control.
Self-control.
Against such there is no Torah.
Against such there is no Torah. Meek and lowliness is the way. Gentleness, calm, perfection is the way. This is the example of these righteous men of who have been set forth as examples for us of how to walk as his covenant people. Again, I reiterate that it is Yahudah in this season who is his covenant people. Ephraim is still divorced. In order for Ephraim to come back into covenant, he must be joined to a renewed man, to a renewed husband, who is Yahushua HaMashiach, who is a Yahudym man, and whereby being engrafted into the olive tree, and whereby being attached to Yahudah, if you desire to be kept from the hour of trial. And so gentleness, meekness, lowliness, humility is the trait of his covenant people. It is the trait of a true Yahudi man and a true Yahudi woman. This is our characteristic. This is the fruit of the Ruach. This is the proof that the Ruach indwells in us and that we are in covenant with him. If we indeed walk this way. This is the proof that we are Nazarim, that we are branches, that we are true Yahudym. And if we walk in this way, in the example of these righteous men, of these Mashiachim, and in the example of HaMashiach, HaMashiach, as we walk lockstep with him, walking as he walks, looking identical to him, looking like him, talking like him, acting like him, walking lockstep with him, he meekly and lowly, in a lowly manner, in meekness and lowliness, will lead us to Mount Zion. Will lead us to Mount Zion. Only sheep, only the sheep of his pasture, only his covenant people will make it to Mount Zion. Meek and lowliness is the foundation that the Master wants to reestablish this day. Meekness and lowliness is the way. Give us another precept, little one.
Zephaniah 2, 1 through 3.
Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2. I was looking for time, little one.
112.
Barak Yahuwah. Zephaniah chapter 2. Zephaniah chapter 2. What verse, little one?
1 through 3.
Verses 1 through 3. Zephaniah chapter 2.
Yes.
Verses 1 through 3. Verses 1 through 3. Beginning at verse 1. Read for us, little one.
Gather together, O nation without shame. Before the law gives birth.
Before the law gives birth.
The day shall pass on like chaff. Before the burning wrath of Yahuwah comes upon you.
Oh, the burning wrath is coming, little one, very shortly. In the form of the great distress, which is coming to try the whole earth. The burning wrath of Yahuwah is even at the door. Come on, read, little one.
Seek Yahuwah, all you meek ones of the earth.
Seek Yahuwah, all you meek ones of the earth.
Who have done his right ruling.
Who have done his right ruling. Come on.
Seek righteousness.
Seek righteousness.
Seek meekness.
Seek meekness.
If so be that you are hidden in the day of wrath of Yahuwah.
If so be it that you're hidden from the day of wrath of Yahuwah. You want to be hidden from the hour of trial, the great distress, which is soon to come upon this earth. Soon. Very soon. Not some other season. This season. Which is soon to come up upon the earth in this season. Seek meekness. Meekness and lowliness. This is the way. This is the trait of his covenant people. This is what true Yahudah looks like. This is what a true Nazarim looks like. One who walks meekly and lowly before men and before his Elohim. And so the master wanted to reestablish that foundation going forward. He has been doing so for the past 3 or perhaps 4 teachings, establishing foundations, bringing us from esteem to esteem as we go forward and look at the example of Yahushua HaMashiach, so that we know what we're looking at, so that now we understand what we're looking at, so that we then, when we pattern our lives after his, we understand what that means and what that should look like. And if we do so, if we pattern our lives after his, if we look like him, we will see him as the Lamb will meet us. As it is written in Revelation chapter 14, the Lamb will meet us on Mount Zion if we walk as he walked. And the ones that are going to be on Mount Zion are those that look like him. Are those that look like him. And so now as we go forward, continuing in the book of Matat Yahu, Matthew, learning how to walk as Yahudym, learning what it looks like to be Yahudym, so that through our true example, through the true works of the manifestation of the Torah made flesh, made manifest in us, we being Torah made flesh, so that through the true manifestations of the Torah made flesh in us, that not only will the Master lead us to Mount Zion, but that as Yahudym, but that also as Yahudym, whom he has said we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. So that through this example, this true example, that men may be drawn out of darkness into its marvelous light, and that they too perhaps will be saved from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon the earth. And so that we will hear those words, well done, my good and my trustworthy servant. And so that the Master will reward us according to our works when he sees us. So that we will not hear those words, bind this servant, this wicked and lazy servant, hand and foot. Cast them into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so now, with this foundation reestablished and established, let's continue to look at the example of Yahushua HaMashiach, a true Yahudi who came to show Yahudah what it looks like to walk as his covenant people, what it looks like to walk as Yahudym, what it looks like to walk as Nazarene, what it looks like to walk as his bride, his counterpart, his Azar Nagab, his suitable helpmeet on earth, as his representatives here on earth, as an extension of him, as having been taken from his side, as branches from the vine, being extensions of him. What it looks like to walk like him and to walk as true Yahudym and true Nazarene. Turn with us to Matat Yahu chapter 11. I don't know if we're going to get much further than this. But Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 11. Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 11. We're going to read this in its entirety. Matthew, Matat Yahu chapter 11. Matthew, Matat Yahu, chapter 11. Matthew, Matat Yahu, chapter 11. Matthew, Matat Yahu, chapter 11. Beginning at verse 1. Read for us, little one.
And it came to be when Yahushua ended instructing his 12 taught ones, that he set out from there to teach and to proclaim in their cities. And when Yehukanan had heard in the prison of the works of Mashiach, he sent 2 of his taught ones and said to him, are you the coming one?
Are you the coming one? Read.
Or do we look for another?
Or do we look for another? Now, John knew what to look for in the coming HaMashiach. He knew what to look for in Aman Nu'al. Aman Nu'al, which is Elohim with us. He knew what to look for. Because when the anointed one came, the anointed one, Yahuwah in flesh, when he came, he was going to operate in works, special works that the earth had never seen before. That they had never seen before. The blind was going to be healed. The deaf was going to be healed. The mute were going to be made to speak. People were going to be raised from the dead after 4 days. That they were going to see things that the earth had never seen before. John, Yahudim, being a Luim, being a Kahan, being a priest, familiar with the scriptures, familiar with the prophecies, with the Nabiah. He knew what to look for. He knew what to expect. And so he sent them to ask him, are you the one coming, or are we to look for another? Come on, read, little one.
And Yahusha answering said to them, go report to Yahudim what you hear and see.
Go report to Yahudim what
you hear and see.
What you hear and what you see. Come on, read.
Blind receive sight.
Blind receive sight.
And lame walk.
And lame walk.
Lepers are cleansed.
Lepers are cleansed.
And deaf hear.
And deaf hear.
Dead are raised up.
Dead are raised up.
And poor are brought the good news.
And poor are brought the good news. This is what he expected for HaMashiach. This is what he expected for HaMashiach. But the master is raising up Mashiach in this season. Mashiach in this season to operate in greater works. In greater works. He is raising up Mashiach in this season to operate in greater works, to be an example to the people in the same way that he was an example. And so he spoke to them. Go tell them what you hear and what you see. John, again, being astute, understanding the scriptures, knew that when these things occurred, that indeed this would testify of him being the anointed one, HaMashiach. Come on, read.
And blessed is he who does not stumble in me.
And blessed and Baruch is he who does not stumble in me. Now the master has previously established that these works, hear him, these works are the manifestation of Torah. This is the true works of Torah. Torah gives life. It does. Torah gives life. Thus the dead are raised by the living Torah. Demons are cast out. It is written in the Torah that if your brother sells himself into captivity, that your brother of who is able, he does redeem him. He does redeem him. Thus, the casting out of devils is redeeming a brother. It's delivering his brother from bondage. It's delivering a brother from slavery. The casting out of devils is Torah. It is Torah. The healing of the sick, the Torah declares that Yahuwah would take away the sicknesses of Egypt. And he would keep the sicknesses of Egypt away from those who did what? Who keep the Torah. Who keep the Torah. So all of these works, this is the true works. The true manifestation of the Torah. Listen, this is the words of the Torah coming to life. These works are the words of the Torah coming to life in plain view. This is the manifestation of Torah. This is the true works of Torah, in which the foundation is righteousness, is right ruling, and compassion, love, and belief. Come on, read, little one.
And as these were going, Yahusha began to say to the crowds concerning Yahudim, what did you go out into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man dressed in soft garments? Look, those wearing soft garments are in the houses of sovereigns.
Look, those wearing soft garments are in the houses of sovereigns. Many of them Yahudim, them so-called Yahudim, little one, they like their linen garments. They love their soft linen garments. They love their robes. And, they love to dress up and dress the part and look the part. But they're no more than modern day Pharisees whose throat is full of dead man's bones. Worrying about the outward, and the inward is full of dead man's bones. The Mashiach says those wearing soft garments in sovereign's courts. True Yahudym, we ain't worried about soft garments. True Yahudym will go about like Yahudim and the Mercer, wearing lamb skin, wearing camel skin and a leather belt, whose righteousness comes from inside, not from the outer garments, which is merely a representation, letting merely being a representation of righteousness. But it is not righteousness unless you operate in righteousness. And the true works of righteousness cannot be accomplished in the flesh. Can only be accomplished via the Ruach HaKadosh. Come on, read, little one.
But what did you go out to see?
But what did you go out to see?
A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. For this is he of whom it was written. See, I send my messenger before your face, who shall prepare your way before you. Truly I say to you, among those born of women, there has not risen one greater than Yahudim the Mercer.
Come on.
Yet the least one in the reign of the heavens is greater than he. And from the days of Yahudim the Mercer till now, the reign of the heavens is violated, and the violent seize it. For all the prophets and the Torah prophesied till Yahudim. And if you wish to accept it, he is Eliyahu, who was about to come. He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Yahudim was not all Yahu, but Yahudim operated in the power of all Yahu. He operated in the anointing of all Yahu. We're not spiritists. The spirit of all Yahu was not in him. There was a level of anointing that was given by the Ruach HaKadosh, which was requisite of all Yahu. He operated in the power and the anointing, the same power and anointing of all Yahu. And all the prophets and the prophets and the writings, they prophesied up until Yahudim the Mercer, pointing towards him who pointed towards the Mashiach, who pointed towards the coming of the Mashiach. He was the one who was to prepare the way of the Mashiach. And so they prophesied until his time, because they prophesied about the coming Mashiach. And he came to prepare the way, to speak of the coming of the HaMashiach. And so it ended with him. It ended with him. Come on, read, little one.
And to what shall I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their companions and saying, we played the flute for you and you did not dance. We lamented to you and you did not beat the breast. For Yahudim came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he has a demon. The son of Adam came eating and drinking, and they say, see a man, a glutton and a wine drinker, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. And wisdom was declared right by her works.
A true Yahudim knows how to have fun, little one. In moderation. In moderation. A true Yahudim knows how to have fun in moderation, because he's always governed by the Ruach HaKadosh. He or she is always governed by the Ruach HaKadosh, and the Ruach will not allow them but to go so far. And so a true Yahudi knows how to have fun in moderation, as our Mashiach, as our master, knew how to have fun. And guess what, little one? When he comes back in his reign for 1,000 years, he's going to partake of the vine again. He's going to partake of the vine again with us, Barak Yahuwah, and we're going to rejoice and celebrate with him for 1,000 years. And so we're not all humdrum. We ain't Christians. We're not serene. We're not all humdrum. We know how to have fun in moderation. We know how to have righteous fun. Righteous fun in the master in moderation. Come on, read.
Then he began to reproach the cities in which most of his miracles had been done.
Then he began to reproach the cities in which most of his miracles had been done. Come on.
Because they did not repent. Woe to you, Chorazin.
This is why the true works of the Torah, right? The weightier matters of the Torah, the right ruling, the compassion, and the belief. You must have belief. You must have belief. How are you going to see these wonders, these righteous works being wrought by this man and still not believe? And in the same way that 600,000 on foot, not counting the strangers and the women, perished in the wilderness, he's getting ready to say, woe to you. Woe to you, because you rejected these righteous works. Woe to some of you. Woe to some of you that reject his words and that are going to reject the righteous works that are going to be done in this season. Woe to you, because you're still not going to believe. It's written in the scriptures that many of you are still not going to believe. You're still going to hold on to your idols. And you're still going to reject him. Even with judgments and even with righteous works being wrought before your eyes. Come on, read, little one.
Woe to you, Ba'if Zadayim, because if the miracles which were done in you had been done in Zur and Zadum, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say to you, it shall be more bearable for Zur and Zadum in the day of judgment than for you. And you, Kafar Nakum, who were exalted to the heavens, shall be brought down to Shaul. Because if the miracles which were done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. But I say to you that it shall be more bearable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for you.
Barak Yahuwah, little one, there's a miracle sitting in front of them. There's a miracle sitting in front of the Zoom family. There's a miracle that's speaking to the four corners of the earth. But they're still rejecting the words being spoken through this hunk of dirt, through this miracle sitting before them. They're still rejecting his words. Woe to them, little one. Woe to them. Because they can't even see the miracle sitting before them. They can't discern the miracle sitting before them. And they're still rejecting the master's words. Woe to them. Come on, read, little one.
At that time, Yahusha responding said, I thank you, Father, master of the heavens and earth, because you have hidden these matters from clever and learned ones.
Oh, thank you, master, because you've hidden these matters from the clever. You've hidden them from the clever, but you've revealed them to who, little one?
The learned ones and the babes.
He's hidden them from who?
The learned ones, and have revealed them to the babes.
And have revealed them to the babes, to the meek, the lowly, the humble, the gentle. He's revealed them to the cocky. He's revealed them to, he's kept it from the cocky, from the puffed up. He's kept it from them, but he's revealed it to the meek and the lowly and the humble, the gentle and the mild. Come on, read, little one.
Yes, Father, because so it was well-pleasing in your sight.
Yes, Father, because so it was well-pleasing in your sight. Come on.
All have been handed over to me by my Father. And no one knows the Son except the Father. Nor does anyone know the Father except the Son. And he to whom the Son wishes to reveal him. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened.
Listen. Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened. Read.
And I shall give you rest.
And I shall give you rest. Read.
Take my yoke upon you.
Take my yoke upon you. That means to be joined to him. That means to be a branch. That means to walk lockstep with him. To walk lockstep with him. Take my yoke upon you. Read.
And learn from me.
And learn from me. Read.
For I am meek and humble.
For I am meek and humble. I am meek and humble. He was calm. He was gentle. He was quiet. He was meek and humble and lowly and gentle. Meek and lowly is the way. He came to show us Yahudah, what it looks like to be Yahudym. He came to show us the way. He came to show us how to walk as Nazarene. He came to show us the way to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. For I am meek and lowly. Come on, read.
In heart, and you shall find rest for your beings.
And you shall find rest for your beings.
For my yoke is gentle.
For my yoke is what?
For my yoke is gentle.
For my yoke is calm. My yoke is calm. This is identifying badge of his covenant people. For my yoke is gentle. Read, little one.
And my burden is light.
And my burden is light. And my burden is light. You can't get around it, little one. You can't get around it. This is what his covenant people looks like. You cannot get around it. Barak Yahuwah. Is that the end of that, little one?
Yes.
Barak Yahuwah. Let's move to Matthew 12. We'll get that in, Yahuwah willing. And Yahuwah willing, we'll stop there. Matat Yahu chapter 12. How are we looking for time?
134.
Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Meek and lowly is the way. This is the way that the Mashiach came to show us. This is the way to Mount Zion. Meek and lowly is the way. And if we are connected to him, if we take his yoke upon us, if we are connected to him, we can't help but be meek and lowly, gentle and mild. This is his yoke. This is what it means to be joined and to walk lockstep with him. And if one doesn't take on this characteristic, doesn't take on his characteristic, then they do not belong to him and they are not in covenant with him. To be in covenant with one means to what? Be joined to them. Yes, it does. It means to be joined to them. It means to be one with them. Yes, it does. It means to be yoked to them. This is what it means to be in covenant with them. And if we are yoked to him, if we are joined to him, if we are in covenant with him, we will take on these characteristics and we will look just like him. He's removed all the guesswork, beloved ones. He's removed it. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Come on, little one. Matthew, Yahoo chapter 12, beginning at verse 1.
At that time, Yahusha went through the grain fields on the Shabbat.
At that time, Yahusha went through the grain fields on the Shabbat day. Read.
And his taught ones were hungry.
Yes, he kept the Shabbat. True Yahudi, we guard the Shabbat just as he did. Just as he did. We guard the Shabbat. We're not Christians. We're not serene. We guard the Shabbat. It is a sign and a seal and a mark of the everlasting covenant between Yahuwah and his people. They were going on the Shabbat day, walking through the grain fields, doing what? And they were hungry. Yes. And they were hungry. Read.
And began to pluck heads of grain to eat.
And began to pluck grain. And began to pluck the grains and began to pluck the heads of grain to eat. Now the Torah declares this. The Torah declares if you're traveling and walking through your neighbor's grain field, he says, the Torah declares that if you want some grain, pluck it with your hand. But don't use a sickle. But don't use a sickle. Pluck it with your hand. So they wasn't transgressing the Torah. The Torah made no distinction when you're walking through your neighbor's grain field. It makes no distinction. It simply says when you're walking through your neighbor's grain field, if you want some grain, pluck it with your hand, but do not use a sickle. This is what the Torah says. Come on, read.
And when the Pharisees saw it, they said to him. And
when the religious ones saw him, again, religion is trying to establish your own righteousness outside of the righteousness of the Torah. The Torah declares that if you're walking through your neighbor's grain field, irrespective of what day it is, that you can pick the grain with your hand, but don't use a sickle. Come on, read.
Look, your taught ones are doing what is not right to do on the Shabbat. But he said to them, have you not read what Daud did when he was hungry?
Have you not read what Daud did when he was hungry? Come on.
He and those who were with him.
He and those who were with him. Read.
How he went into the house of Elohim.
How he went into the house of Elohim.
And ate the showbread.
And ate the showbread. Now hear him. The Torah also declares that the showbread is what? Is to be changed every Shabbat. Every Shabbat day, the priest is to change the showbread. And so not only here we find Daud traveling on the Shabbat day. Many of the zealots, they'll tell you, oh, you can't travel on the Shabbat day. You're a liar. Yahusha was walking through the grain fields. Daud was running from Sovereign Shaul. He and his men, when they came to Shiloh. And they came there on the Shabbat day. They traveled on the Shabbat day when they got there with the changing of the showbread. Come on, read, little one.
Which was not right for him to eat.
Now, the showbread was reserved for only the priests, for only the Kohanim. It was supposed to be given to only the Kohanim and no one else. Read.
Nor for those who were with him.
Nor for those who were with him.
But only for the priests.
But only for the priests. Read.
Or did you not read in the Torah that on the Shabbat the priest in the Kadush place profane the Shabbat and are blameless? But I say to you that in this place there's one greater than the Kadush place. And if you had known what this means, I desire compassion and not offering.
I desire compassion and not offering. You what?
You would not have condemned the blameless.
You would not have condemned the blameless. This is for the zealots. This is for the zealots that don't understand that the Torah the weightier matters of the Torah, the right ruling, the compassion and the belief. Now, not only were they not transgressing Torah, because the Torah says if you're walking through your neighbor's grain field, you can pick the grain, but don't use a sickle. But the weightier matters here is that they were hungry. They were hungry. And we must always operate in compassion, both to ourselves and to others. They were hungry. And so the master, being compassionate, allowed them to eat. The Shabbat day itself was given out of compassion, from a compassionate Elohim to his people out of compassion. And so they were hungry, and so they ate. Many. Now we are to what? We are to make every effort to prepare our foods on the 6th day. But what if, beloved ones, what if you are unable to make your preparations on the 6th day? Are you going to remain hungry? Are you going to simply not eat? Simply for the sake of guarding the Shabbat day? That's not compassion. That's not compassion. That is not compassion, and that's not the way of the master. That is not the way of the master, the right ruling and the compassion and the belief. They were hungry, so they ate. Daud was hungry, and so he ate bread that was reserved for the priest. He was hungry, and so he ate. This is compassion. This is compassion. Understand what the Torah, the foundation of the Torah, understand what the Torah is laid upon. The Torah is compassion. The Torah is love. It is laid upon the foundation of right ruling, compassion, and belief. But they are zealous. They are zealous that will go all day to Shabbat hungry because they were not able to make preparations on the 6th day for whatever reason. And they will pour out these burdens upon you. They will pour out this religious understanding upon you and bring this burden upon you. Oh, there are some zealots out there, little one. There are some zealots, little one. There are zealots, little one, that will leave a pile of dookie in the middle of their floor. Little one, there's some zealots out there and will not clean it up because it's a Shabbat day. They will not wash a dish because it is the Shabbat day. Not understanding that we are to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean every day. Every day. The master says, the Torah declares that if you go out and you have to defecate. I know there's some proper folk, little one, so we have to use words like that. That you have to defecate. Take a sharp instrument with you. Dig a hole and cover it up, because I dwell in the midst of my people. He doesn't make a distinction there, little ones, of whether or not that's the Shabbat day or not. He doesn't make a distinction. We are to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean every day. People will leave a pile of trash in the middle of the floor, little one, on the Shabbat day and won't clean it up because they say it's the Shabbat day. And they won't clean it up for the sake of the Shabbat day, not understanding that we are to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean every day. Zealous, religious zealots, not understanding the Torah. Not understanding the Torah. They ate out of compassion because it was a compassionate thing to do. They were hungry. They were hungry, and this is Torah. Torah is compassion. They were hungry, so they ate, and they fulfilled the Torah. Thus it is written. And had you known that I desire, had you known what it means, where it means that where it was written, I desire compassion and not offering, you would not have accused innocent men. Come on, read, little one.
For the son of Adam is master of the Shabbat.
He is the Shabbat because he is Yahuwah. He is our eternal rest. In the previous chapter, he says, take my yoke upon you. He says, I will give you rest. I will give you rest because he is Yahuwah in flesh. He is the eternal Shabbat. He is the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the everlasting covenant. He is whom we desire to enter into throughout eternity. Come on, read, little one. He did not stop the Shabbat day, Christian. He did not cease the Shabbat day. He himself is keeping the Shabbat day here. Come out of your foolishness before you're left to the valley of oh no. Come on, read, little one.
And having left there, he went into their congregation. And see, there was a man having a withered hand.
Yes.
And they asked him, saying, is it right to heal on the Shabbat?
Now he just finished teaching them the Torah, little one. He just finished teaching them the Torah. That the Torah is compassion. This is Torah. He just finished teaching them the Torah. But they still yet do not understand because they zealots. They're zealots. And the so-called house of Yahshua is still full of religious zealots. Still full of them. He just finished teaching them the Torah. Now he goes in and he does what, little one?
So as to accuse him. And he said to them, what man is there among you who has one sheep, and if it falls into a pit on the Shabbat, shall not take hold of it and lift it out? How much more worth is a man than a sheep?
Is that not compassion, little one, to pull the sheep out of the ditch? This is Torah. This is Torah. Torah is compassion. How much more worth is a man? Come on, read.
So it is right to do good on the Shabbat.
It is always right to do good on the Shabbat. And to do good on the Shabbat is to not go hungry for the sake of the Shabbat. To show compassion to yourself and to show compassion to others. What if you're out doing work on the Shabbat, doing the master's work on the Shabbat, and you come across one who is hungry? Do you tell him, I'll be back after the Shabbat to feed you? Or do you give him food to eat? You show him compassion. You show him compassion. This is Torah. Torah is compassion. And if one is to be healed on the Shabbat, this is compassion. You show them compassion. You don't tell them, well, I'll come back after the Shabbat to heal your withered hand. Or I'll be back after the Shabbat to raise your loved one from the dead. Or I'll be back after the Shabbat to pray the prayer of belief and to lay hands on the sick and allow the master to heal your sick beloved one. You show them compassion then. You show them compassion. This is the true works of the Torah, which is laid on the foundation of compassion. Compassion must always be the motivation. It must always be the motivation. Come on, read.
Then he said to the man, stretch out your hand. And he stretched it out, and it was restored as healthy as the other. But the Pharisees went out and took counsel against him.
Oh, them religious zealots. Them religious zealots. I'm sick of them, little one. I'm sick of them religious zealots. The letter gonna kill them. The letter's gonna kill them dead because they refuse to receive and understand that the Torah is a compilation of childlike instructions given to children to teach us about deeper spiritual matters. Did I say the letter was done away with? You did not hear me say that. But you need to understand the difference between the letter and the spirit. The letter kills and the Ruach gives life. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Come on, read, little one.
So as to destroy him. But Yahusha, knowing it, withdrew from there. And large crowds followed him, and he healed them all.
And he healed them all in accordance with the Torah. In accordance with what is written in the Torah, he healed them all. This is the manifestation of Torah. And he is calling some of us. He is calling some of us to do these works in this season. To do these true works of the Torah. To allow the Torah to come to life in us. To allow the Torah to manifest in us. And to do the true works of the Torah. Come on, read.
And warn them not to make him known.
And warn them not to make him known. Meek and lowly is the way. He didn't want any recognition. He didn't want to be known. He didn't want any reputation. He didn't want any platform. He warned them not to make him known. This is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. Come on, read.
In order that what was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet might be filled, saying,
come on.
See my servant whom I have chosen.
See my servant whom I have chosen.
My beloved in whom my being did delight.
My beloved in whom my being did delight. Read.
I shall put my Ruach upon him.
I shall put my Ruach upon him.
And he shall declare right ruling to the nations.
And he shall declare right ruling righteousness to the nations.
He shall not strive nor cry out.
He shall not strive. Listen, there are many in the so-called house of Yahshua who love to strive with you. who love to strive over matters of the Torah. A true Yahudi takes on the character of Yahushua HaMashiach. He did not strive over the matters of the Torah. We do not strive, Yahudah. We don't strive. You let them strive. You let them speak. We don't strive over matters of the Torah. We are calm. We are quiet. We are gentle. We are meek, humble, and mild. We don't strive over matters of the Torah. Look at the example. This is what a true Yahudi looks like. He will not strive. Read.
Nor shall anyone hear his voice in the streets.
Nor shall anyone hear his voice in the streets. No, because he was quiet. He was a quiet man. He didn't argue. He didn't get into arguments. He didn't get into disputes. He merely spoke what was truth, and that was it. He spoke when he was called to speak, and then he went away. He wasn't looking for a platform. He wasn't looking for importance. It wasn't his time. It wasn't his time. A true Yahudi takes on this posture. We do not strive. We do not strive over matters of the Torah. We do not even strive when one slanders us. We do not strive with them. We don't raise our voice. We don't lift up our voice in the streets to be heard. No, we don't. We are meek. We are quiet. We are lowly. We are gentle. Meek and quiet. Lowly is the way. Come on, read.
A crushed reed he shall not break, and smoking flax he shall not quench, till he brings forth right ruling forever. And the nations shall trust in his name. Then they brought to him one who was demon possessed. Blind and dumb.
And some are going to operate in this manner. Some are going to operate in uncommon signs and wonders in this season. But in operating in uncommon signs and wonders, this is still just a true manifestation of the Torah. It's Torah. It's Torah. And we must operate in Torah. Operating in Torah is to operate in meekness and lowliness. And showing and operating in compassion. Not looking for any importance. Not looking for a platform. Not looking for any of this, but operating in the manner of our master. Come on, read.
And he healed him, so that the blind and dumb man both spoke and saw. And all the crowds were amazed and said, "Is this the son of Daud?" But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, "This one does not cast out demons except by Beelzebul."
Listen here. Listen here. Here, these Pharisees, these religious zealots, they were jealous, they were envious. That indeed they were envious, but the master wants to show you something else. They declare here that this one only cast out demons by Beelzebul. By Beelzebul. We're familiar with the story of Nimrod. We're familiar that Namrud goes by many different names. Baal is one of them. You understand this? Baal is one of them. Apollo is another one. He is the one that's mentioned in the pit. He's the sovereign of the pit. He is the one that is coming up. Namrud, he is the sovereign of the pit. He goes by many names. Beelzebul is one of those names. It's one of those names, but he is a mere representation of Hashatan. But the master wants to point your attention to something here. That there is a precedence. That there was some that were obviously casting out devils in the name of Beelzebul. There was some casting out devils in the name of Beelzebul. And so there is precedence here that a more powerful entity or a more powerful demon can order a less powerful demon to come out of a person. There is precedence that a more powerful demon can order sickness to leave, because most sickness is carried by demons. So what is he saying? What is he saying? Oh, there have been some that have been healed in the name of Jesus. There have been demons that have been cast out in the name of Jesus. I told you, Nimrod has many names. He has many names. He is worshipped in many lands as a sun god. Baal being one of them. And in each land where that sun god is worshipped, they all have the same birthday. That birthday is December 25th. Every beast, there have been 4 beasts. The first beast was Babylon. The second beast was Medo-Persia. The third beast was Greece. And the fourth beast, and which is going to last until the end, is Rome. Each beast has promulgated the worship of the beast, who is Nimrod. And they have promulgated the worship of him and whatever god or whatever mighty one of that land that they were worshiping Nimrod in. Whether or not that was Baal in Babylon, or whether or not that was Zeus in Greece, or whether or not that is Jesus the Christ of Rome. Nimrod goes by many different names. And a more powerful demon can order a less powerful demon to come out of a person. Oh, it's time to wake up in this season. His name is Yahushua HaMashiach. This is his name. This is the name in which every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. This is the name of which there is no other name other Shamayim of which man may be saved. It is the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. It is not Jesus the Christ. This is an invented name of Rome. And in this name, as we see the precedence here, demons can be cast out. People can be healed. Come on, read, little one.
The ruler of the demons.
The ruler of the demons.
And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said to them, every reign divided against itself is laid waste. And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Hashatan cast out Hashatan, he is divided against himself. How then does his reign stand? And if I by Beelzebul do cast out demons?
And if I by Beelzebul do cast out demons, so there is precedence, read.
By whom do your sons cast them out?
By whom do your sons cast them out? Because they did not yet know the name of Yahushua. Then whom do your sons cast them out? There is precedence that a more powerful demon can cast out a less powerful demon. Read.
Because of this they shall be your judges.
Because of this they shall be your judges.
But if I cast out demons by the Ruach of Elohim.
But if I cast out demons by the Ruach of Elohim.
Then the reign of Elohim has come upon you.
Then the reign of Elohim has come upon you.
Or how is one able to enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods, unless he first binds the strong man, and then he shall plunder his house. Unless he first bind the strong man. In order to bind the strong man, one stronger than him must bind him. That one stronger than him is Yahushua HaMashiach. He does go in and bind the strong man. He is our kinsman redeemer. He is the one that does set the brother free. He is the one that does redeem his brother in accordance with the Torah. That if your brother is sold into slavery, that your brother who was able to redeem him, he does redeem him. He is the one that goes, the one stronger than the strong man who goes and binds the strong man so as to set the captives free and release his brother from captivity. Come on, read. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. Because of this, I say to you, all crime and blasphemy shall be forgiven man.
All crime and blasphemy shall be forgiven man. Read.
But the blasphemy against the Ruach.
But the blasphemy against the Ruach
shall not be forgiven men.
Shall not be forgiven men. And understand the context here. He's talking about the rejecting of the works of the Ruach here. The rejecting of the manifestation and the works of the Ruach. Thus the Master declares, woe to you. You've seen all these signs. You've seen all these signs and wonders that have been wrought before you, but you have rejected them. Woe to you. Woe to you. You saw the signs and wonders wrought in Egypt. You saw the sea of reeds split. You saw manna come down from Shamayim. You saw water come out of a rock, but you still rejected him. You still had unbelief. And thus 600,000 of you, not counting the strangers, and the women perished in the wilderness. Woe to you, because you reject the works of the Ruach HaKadosh. Woe to you. Read.
And whoever speaks a word against the son of Adam.
Whoever speaks a word against the son of Adam.
It shall be forgiven him.
It shall be forgiven him.
But whoever speaks against the Ruach HaKadosh,
But whoever speaks against the Ruach HaKadosh,
it shall not be forgiven him.
it shall not be forgiven him. Beware, be careful of speaking against the Ruach HaKadosh, of speaking against his works. He will be esteemed. Yahuwah will be esteemed. You are not going to give credit of his works to someone else. He will be esteemed, and he will share his esteem with none other. Be careful of rejecting the works of the Ruach HaKadosh. Come on, read.
Either in this age or in the age to come. Either make the tree good and its fruit good, or even make the tree rotten and its fruit rotten. For a tree is known by its fruit.
A tree is known by its fruit. Yahudah, read.
Brood of adders.
Brood of adders.
How are you able to speak what is good, being wicked?
How are you able to speak what is good, being wicked? You religious zealots. Either you a good tree or you a rotten tree. Either you a sheep or you a goat. There is no in between. And only sheep, only his covenant people are going to Mount Zion in this season. Come on, read.
For the mouth speaks from the overflow of the heart.
For the mouth speaks from the overflow of the heart. You want to know who a person is? Listen to him. Listen to him. The heart doesn't lie. The heart cannot lie. They can try and hide it all they want, but sooner or later their heart is going to find them out, because out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Come on, read, little one.
The good man brings forth what is good from the good treasures of his heart.
Yes.
And the wicked man brings forth what is wicked from the treasures.
From the treasures of his heart. As it is written in Revelation 14, those who make it to Mount Zion, there will be no falsehood found on their lips. Come on, read, little one.
And I say to you that for every idle word men speak,
Therefore, I
they
say
shall
to
give
you,
an account.
You shall give account for every idle word you speak. Be careful of what you say. Be careful of what you say, Yahudah. Be governed and be led by the Ruach. If you are in covenant with him and you are calm and you're quiet, you don't have to worry about this, because you're going to be a person of few words. And you don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing, because you are governed by the Ruach and you are calm to begin with. You are quiet, you're gentle, and you're governed by him. Come on, read, little one.
Of it in the day of judgment. For by your words you shall be declared righteous.
Because by your words you shall be declared righteous. Read.
And by your words you shall be declared unrighteous.
And by your words you shall be declared unrighteous. This is the importance of being in covenant with him, of having him govern our words, of allowing him to speak through us, of submitting to him, submitting to his Ruach, of being meek and quiet, gentle, humble. Come on, little one.
Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you. But he answering said to them, a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it, except the sign of the prophet Yonah. For as Yonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the stomach of the great fish, so shall the son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Men of Nineveh shall stand up in the judgment with this generation and condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Yonah.
Because they repented at the preaching of Yonah. They repented at the preaching of Yonah. Come on, little one.
And look, a greater than Yonah is here. The sovereigness of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation and shall condemn it. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Shalama. And look, a greater than Shalama is here. Now when the unclean Ruach goes out of a man, he goes through dry places, seeking rest and finds none. Then it says, I shall return to my house from which I came. And when it comes, it finds it empty, swept, and decorated. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other Ruachs more wicked than itself. And they enter and dwell there.
And they enter and dwell there. When that Ruach is cast out of a person, it goes through dry places looking for rest. And when it returns to that person, it finds that house swept and neat and put in order. In other words, it finds that house void of the Ruach HaKadosh. It goes and it gets 7 more Ruach to come and dwell in that person. And the next state of that person is worse than the last. You must receive Ruach. If Ruach is in you, he then separates us. He then separates us unto himself. He separates us from uncleanness to cleanness. The Ruach, the Torah, is the great separator. It is the two-edged sword. It separates us from Hashatan. It separates clean from the unclean. It separates righteousness from unrighteousness. It separates good from evil. It separates light from darkness. We must receive Ruach. We must enter into covenant with him via Ruach if we want to be protected. This is important. This has no more importance than in this current season when the pit is getting ready to be opened and those demons are coming up out of the pit, and the text declares that they're going to sting men for 5 months, and the pain is going to be so excruciating that men are going to pray to die, but death is going to flee them. Do not allow them to come and find your house empty. Do not allow them come to find your house empty and void of Ruach. If you hear his voice today, harden not your heart. Receive his living bread. Be filled with righteousness. Be brought into covenant with him. Be brought into covenant with him, and then began to walk like our master, Yahushua HaMashiach. Come on, read, little one.
And the last of that man is worse than the first. So shall it also be with this wicked generation. And while he was still talking to the crowds, see, his mother and brother stood outside, seeking to speak with him. And one said to him, see, your mother and your brothers are standing outside, seeking to speak with you. But he answering said to the one who spoke to him, who is my mother?
Who is my mother?
And who are my brothers?
And who are my brothers?
And having stretched out his hand toward his taught ones, he said, see, my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the desire of my Father, who is in the heavens,
who is in the heavens,
is my mother and sister and brother.
And the desire of our Father is righteousness, is to do righteousness, is to walk meekly, lowly, and mild and gentle. To do the desire of our Father is to do righteousness. And those who do righteousness, which is the desire of Yahuwah, which is obedience to Torah, which is having the Torah being made manifest in us, these are our relatives. These are our relatives, and these are true Yahudym. Those who do the desire of Yahuwah, which is righteousness, which is obedience to Torah, which is having the true works of the Torah made manifest in us, which is to walk meekly, humbly, lowly, gently, quietly, and mild. These are our relatives. These are our relatives. Look around, Yahudah. Look around. Recognize who your relatives are. Recognize who your true relatives are. Recognize who they are. This is important. Lest you find yourself left with them in the valley of Ono. It is very important to recognize who your relatives are, who your true relatives are in this season. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Master, for this continued word, this continued warnings that you send forth. We are humbled that, Master, that you would care for us and love us. Who is man that you're mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you should visit him? You have made him a little lower than Elohim and crowned him with honor and esteem, and have placed all under his feet. Who are we that you should visit us? That you should visit us and speak your words, that you would speak your desire, that you would show us, Master, beyond the shadow of a doubt, what it looks like to be your covenant people, what it looks like to be Yahudym, what it looks like to be Nazarene, what it looks like to be your bride, what it looks like to be extensions of you. You've made it simple for us. You've made it easy for us, Master, such that we are now without excuse. We are without excuse, Master. Oh, Master, it is my prayer that those whom you sent to your servant, who are under the sound of my voice, Master, that those whom you've called to yourself, I'm under no illusion that all have been called to you, but those whom you've called to yourself, Master, it is my prayer that none of them shall be lost, that none shall be snatched from your hand, but that you would guard them and keep them, Master, from the hour of trial, and that you would cause them to walk meekly and lowly and humbly, gently and mild, Master, and that they would be led, that we, Master, that we would be led to your Kadosh mountain, where we would be given a song that no one else can sing. We love you, Master, so much with all our heart, mind, and strength. And we desire to see your face. We desire to sit at your feet. We desire to be pleasing unto you, to hear those words, well done, my good and my trustworthy servant. It is my prayer, Master, that these words this day have gone across the whole of the YAHUAH'S as a hammer that shatters, that it has shattered both chain and shackle, that it has broken up hard ground, that this ground now, the proverbial soil of the hard ground of the heart has been broken up, such that the ground has been made conducive to the planting of seed, such that it is my prayer that you would pour out living water upon that seed, such that that seed would grow up to produce fruit, the fruit that leads to everlasting life. It is my prayer that not one word would return void unto you, but that it would go forth and accomplish that which you have sent it forth to do. It is my prayer that this word, not one seed will fall by the wayside. That not one word will fall on shallow ground. That not one word or hairs or wood fall amongst thorns. But that indeed this word has fallen on fertilized and broken up soil, conducive to the planting of seed. It is in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach I pray. So be it, so be it, so be it. For those of you who are on YouTube, we're grateful that the Master Yahuwah has sent you our way, that he sent you to listen to his words under the sound of his servant's voice. I pray that you have been edified this day, that you have been convicted. I pray that you have been challenged. I pray that even now, that as these foundations are being built, that even now you're seeking to become even more meek, even more humble, even more gentle, even more mild, even more quiet, even more calm, even more lamb-like, even more like sheep. Until the next time, Master Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Master Yahuwah lift up his face upon you. Barak Yahuwah. Barak Yahuwah. Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and forgive me, Master. Your servant is tired. Your servant is tired. Your servant is tired, Master. Help me. Barak and guard your sheep, Master.
Yes, Master.
And let your face shine upon your sheep. Lift up your face upon them and give them shalom, Master. In the name of the Master Yahushua HaMashiach. So be it. So be it. So be it. Shalom.